Greetings. My name is Kiona. This is the second video in my series on spiritual grieving for survivors of trauma and just the intensity of the paradigm shifts that we're going through at this time. In my first video, I began to outline some of the trauma and grief that I've experienced and dealt with as a spiritual warrior, perceiving myself as being on a journey of a hero, and putting my traumas and my grief into that perspective, into that framework. And the idea I want to explore today is finding our way through grief and trauma by practicing alignment, conscious alignment, not necessarily succeeding at living in alignment, but just having conscious awareness of our spiritual understandings, our principles, our ethics, our values, our core values, such as spirituality, ecology, ascension, whatever your thing is for your journey here at this time. Continually keep that in mind as a context for interpreting your grief, like understandings that you can bring it all back to in order to stay whole and stay authentically in the parameters of who you really are. When I'm grieving a lot, I can't really remember who I really am, and I feel really sad. I feel really destroyed. I feel permanently changed, like a war veteran that got blown up by an IED. And now they have robotic limbs and their face is injured, and they're still the same brave, intelligent, excellent person, but they have to move through life with these scars and find a way to interpret them in a heroic way so that it somehow has some kind of wisdom or honor. And I'd like to do that with my journey too. And I have done that all along, and I think that's what helped me survive the trauma and to not just completely lose it or to give up. I literally have this strong willpower and patience to hang in there no matter how bad it gets, even when I wish I was never born or whatever. At the same time, it's like cognitive dissonance. At the same time as I'm going through intense pain and really processing trauma and grief, at the same time I'm aware of my eternal self and my soul contracts and my journey here and all the spiritual and metaphysical and supernatural realities at the same time. But it doesn't negate either one of them. They coexist like two radio stations on different frequencies, and I switch back and forth between those frequencies. And the thing that helps me not get lost is being in alignment, conscious alignment with what I feel is my true path. And I have to remind myself of it all the time. In my first video, I began to outline how you can perceive your trauma and grief in the context of the journey of the hero, with the invitation to adventure, crossing the threshold, meeting a mentor, losing a mentor, going into the labyrinth alone, and battling monsters and demons until you're torn limb from limb. And then you have to reassemble yourself. You have to defeat the final monster which could be your darkest side of yourself or your deepest wound. Put yourself back together again. Find your way out of the labyrinth and return to your people with the prizes that you gained along the way, which is the wisdom and the understanding and the compassion that you gained from firsthand experience of this aspect of life. Source wants to experience life from every angle, and that's what we do. We experience it for Source, like we are the eyes of the world, and so we can honor it in that way. Even though it doesn't feel good, it is part of the spectrum of life. And so to stay in alignment with your authentic self, you can perceive your grief and your trauma from the perspective of the journey of the hero. And then in order to align myself with my true spiritual path, which I want to strive for unconditional love and wisdom, like Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion. I have thought about my values and different ways that I can live those values, and then come up with a process that works to keep me in alignment with those principles. And I got a lot of these ideas from watching hours of videos by this teacher named Matt Kahn with True Divine Nature. He's a master of ascension. And what I learned from watching a bunch of his videos was the following process, which I have been working with for at least a month actively, applying it to even the most difficult situations. First, I allow and accept whatever I'm feeling, wanting, or experiencing, or whatever happens. Just non-judgmentally witness it and allow it. And say, it is what it is, it does what it does, and whatever happens, happens. Then embrace it with mercy. Say, I see that this is happening. I see that this is causing you or somebody to feel a certain way. And I'm here with you in this moment. And do that. Embrace it with mercy and compassion. And then bless the situation and yourself. May I be blessed. May he or she or they be blessed. May this situation be blessed. And then you try to celebrate or cherish whatever it is that's happening. Like, yay, the car broke down. Now we're surely in for some adventures. What comes next, you know? And then you remember your true path. You remember your true divine self. You remember the bigger truths, that this is a journey and that this is practice. It's conscious spiritual practice that causes us to mature and evolve and grow and expand. The grief and the trauma are real. They hurt and they cause damage, which is then material for you to work with, to reweave the web, to smooth out the turbulence, to pull out the old stuff, to make room for new blessings, and to have the courage to look at grief and your trauma and say, no matter what happened, I am experiencing this or better. If I let go of the grief, I'll feel like I'll have a loss, and I'll have even less than I already have. At least with the grief, I have that. But it's somehow, the alignment is somehow finding the courage to say, this or better. I will have this that I loved and I lost, or better, by living the feeling signature of whatever that situation had created in me. Like having my children, I was so happy. And I felt like they were the source of the love, and they were. But now I have to learn how to generate those feelings without them to inspire and electrify it. I have to consciously make that effort. And it's a daily process that takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, giant leaps, giant times of going into remission where no healing happens, and then all of a sudden a huge burst, and then steady growth for a long time. I just flow with it and follow my process however it wants to unfold. So, you know, allow, embrace, bless, celebrate, remember. See yourself as a journey of a hero. You're a hero on a journey. You're heroic if you are conscious of your quest to consciously interact with the people, places, and situations that are manifesting around you. Engage with them in a way that is true to your authentic self, your true path. Not as a victim, not as a cripple, not as a failure, just as your pure baby self, your pure divine self, fresh. Just try to imagine it. Like if you were in a movie and that was a character you had to play, so you had to act like that. Try to picture how that would feel and act like that, like you're an actor in a movie. Because your life is somewhat of a movie. It has a character, it has plot, it has settings, it has an antagonist and a protagonist and all these other characters and overarching plot lines and underpinning plot lines and everything weaving together to make this point and to cause you to care about the characters and the story and to get lost in it, to be engaged intellectually and emotionally with it. And that's what we're supposed to do in life. Not just go through life like zombies who are wounded and then try to go out and have fun occasionally. We're supposed to actually be living the movie, not going to see movies so much. We're supposed to be living our life like conscious screenwriters, you know, who are crafting a plot, whether for good or for evil, but who are consciously doing that. So the point of this video is freeing yourself little by little as you're ready, freeing yourself from the cycle of grief where you have to keep feeling it and processing it and releasing it. How to eventually get to where we are through it. And for me, it helps to see myself as being on a journey of a hero. Study that template if you haven't. It's throughout all kinds of mythology all over the world, ever since humans have told stories, the journey of the hero. And perceive yourself that way and learn to follow processes that cause you to live by a standard of ethics that's in alignment with who you really are. Like, honor each person you meet as a spark of the divine and see them as though that's the main thing you see. And treat people that way, like you're greeting a divine. Not a god or something, but like a flower. You feel honored and blessed when you see a flower. Make a big deal. Oh, look at this flower. People don't treat each other that way at all. So if we did, I've known some spiritual people who did, who actually totally tuned in when they saw you and maybe bowed, shined a smile at you, or maybe hugged you, and you felt like you were being stroked with light. You know, start trying to do that, even if you're in pain, because it's grief can be a cycle that you get stuck in, and it can be a frequency and a vibration that becomes a signature that becomes who you are. But grief can also just be a process that you're moving through. Sometimes I look really happy, sometimes I look really sad. I feel like these days I do carry a look of sadness because I am sad. I'm processing grief. And that's okay. I'll get my, my happy face on when I feel more happy. I'm mainly looking for serenity and understanding more than a feeling of overpowering joy, although that would be wonderful and I do long for that. But I also accept where I am at without having to try to change it all the time and never feel it to the fullest. Sometimes I get in phases where I begin to yell about stuff. Like about the world and what's going on in the world and what different people have done. Not yell like screaming at the top of my lungs, but like talking with a raised voice. And I can feel it in my tummy chakra. It feels like a cartoon, an anime character building up power to shoot out. And as I'm yelling or whatever, it feels like this power is coming out. Like a lightning bolt discharging electricity. And it feels better. And I think part of my grief is venting like that. Even telling the same stories over and over. My partner will try to interrupt me and tell me I've already told this story. And I say to him, you're going to listen for as many times as I need to tell it. Because telling it soothes me. It lowers the emotional charge of what I'm retelling. Where some people will talk, and the more they talk, the more excited and angry and upset they get. For me, every time I go through the details of it, it loses its emotional charge until it doesn't bother me anymore. And that's my process. And if I'm not allowed to do that, I act out like a kid in a bad foster home or something. I have acting out behaviors. I don't like that. I want to very carefully craft my life right now so I have no stress, no stimulation, no upsets, nothing except nurturing and supportive friendship and alliance with whoever is involved in my life trying to help me get through this. Because I'm going through it consciously, so it's like an investment in the future. It's like I'm in a really challenging college, like Harvard or something. But this is the college of life. And I'm learning firsthand, like an anthropologist immersed in another culture. That's how I feel like I am in grief and trauma. Like my eternal self knows and understands. But yet I'm in it and there's no way out of it. So that is how I feel. And that's okay. That's how you have multiple perspectives that can add to your understanding. I don't know if that's unusual or what. I call it cognitive dissonance, where my mind is, I have 3 or 4 minds within my mind. You know, my emotional mind, my intellectual mind, my spiritual mind, you know, and I'm able to perceive them simultaneously, you know, but I don't have a lot of understanding yet. I'm studying teachers all the time on YouTube. People who I think are just so right on, so powerfully good, mystics and spiritual warriors and just fellow pilgrims, all sharing their thoughts and ideas, and it's amazing. It feels like a renaissance to me. People call it the paradigm shift, but this whole society feels like a renaissance to me right now. And part of this renaissance is quickly purging out, taking the opportunities with the experiences we have to purge out what doesn't serve the highest good, so that our lives can feel like a vacation instead of a prison sentence. You know, that would be really nice. So we have to transcend the crimes or shortcomings or wounds or whatever in order to do that. Because when you go on vacation, you're supposed to leave all that stuff behind. You're supposed to pay your bills in advance. You're supposed to have your mail put on hold. You're supposed to make arrangements for things to be taken care of, you know. So if we want to go from being slaves to these old paradigms and old ways of seeing life, like a tragedy wounding you for the rest of your life, and you're just a cautionary tale of grief and suicide. That's the old paradigm. The new paradigm is to allow it, embrace it, cherish or celebrate it, bless it, and remember the true divine nature in everything. Our senses filter out everything except for whatever pattern the hard drive of our mind is expecting, like our house, our town, whatever. But if you were to trip on LSD, mushrooms, peyote, or any number of other things, you would be able to see through things, see the energy that they're made of, see what's out of alignment, see the spirits in it and around it, you know, because the filters of your perception or your firewalls around your operating system would be open during the time that you trip. Well, those realities are still here even though you're not currently hallucinating. Those things are actually happening in the other dimensions. So as you're grieving, remember that too. What kind of feeling signature you are emanating to taint your firewall of your operating system and what you allow through to your experience. I know it's a choice to enjoy a beautiful day, or to go on a walk or not, or to eat or not, and yet I constantly resist doing the beautiful, comfortable thing. That's why I feel stuck in grief. It's like self-punishment or survivor's guilt or something. And I have to allow myself to be happy. And it feels like it requires tremendous effort. This past weekend we went to an awesome club called the Met in Providence, Rhode Island, and saw this band called Playing Dead from Massachusetts. And it was awesome. It was such a good time. So many beautiful people. A perfect venue for having a transcendent musical experience. And I had to consciously remind myself, to let myself enjoy myself and have fun. I can't describe the effort it requires. It's like you're watching TV and someone wants you to step away from the TV to talk to them for a while. And you don't want to break away from the TV and miss the rest of your show. You know, that's kind of how it feels. So find ways to gradually break out of being stuck in grief and trauma. You're stuck there for a good reason, because you're working through the process. But sometimes it can go on for too long, and you can tell that it's time to make a little bit of space for new blessings, to open up and trust, to relax and let yourself feel okay to be alive, to not worry about the future and whether this pain will ever go away. Just try not to worry about that for a few minutes. And try to just say, this moment right here is nice. All the leaves are flamingly red and orange and yellow. Really beautiful. There's still plants blooming flowers. The sky is blue. Everything is peaceful. You know, we're surrounded by heaven on earth when we want to tune into that. If we're not surrounded by heaven on earth, if you're in a bad environment, it's like being in hell. I've been there. it's like being trapped in hell, and no matter how hard you try to escape it, you can't get out. And no matter how hard you try to stay spiritual and positive, it's too much. It's too dark. It breaks you, just like torture eventually breaks you to confess to crimes you did not commit. It breaks you eventually. And that's okay. Because when you get broken down, then you start having breakthroughs if you're conscious. And the breakthrough I had when I was living in hell was that I was on a journey of a hero. And I was battling actual demons in a labyrinth of unfortunate circumstances that very well could have been training to be a spiritual warrior, like college. It's a movie, and I got so into it that I forgot I was playing a part in a movie. And now I remember, but yet my nervous system still got damaged. You know, my chakra system and all of that. But not beyond healing. It's more of a habitual pattern thing when you're stuck in grief. And you have to break up those static vibrations and get them dynamic again. That's why music is good. Intuitive stretching and dancing. Making primitive sounds with vocal ascension, chanting and howling and things like that. Tapping on your body wherever you feel energy needs to be broken up a little bit. It really does help. These are the spaces where it usually affects me the most to do that. A lot of times I feel like I had wings right here. And like somebody took some big hedge clippers and cut them off right at my flesh with my shoulder bones. And it hurts right there, and it feels like my wings got cut off. I don't know if anybody else ever has that experience. And what I'm leading to is some mystics speculate that we carry some traumas from our previous lives. After we die, I think it could be possible that we have a life review and we come to understanding and resolution so that when we can be born into a new life, we can be a fresh baby with a fresh template, experience fresh things. But other times we accumulate karma, love karma or fear karma, and those patterns continue. So one thing I've noticed for me in my grief pattern is that I always feel like I'm in a prison, a paradigm prison, a grief prison, a circumstantial prison, my whole life. You know? It's like psychic confinement held in place by people's thought forms. And I have felt that my whole life. And it's because in previous lives, when I worked as a priestess or some other role of a sacred person, a medicine person or whatever, I was probably, I think, imprisoned. And had my hands bound so I couldn't use my hand chakras and whatever. And after so many years of torture and imprisonment, I just shut down the memory of those powers that I had developed in my participation in mystery schools. I'm just speculating here. I'm saying people who feel like they're stuck in a prison in their life may be acting out an archetype of imprisonment from several previous lifetimes. And if you can let go of that perception of being imprisoned and perceive it in some other way entirely, like a journey of a hero or something, then you can shift your paradigm, shift your energy, shift your perceptions, and just shift out of that frequency to another phase of your journey which may also be involving grieving. I don't know. I still feel like I'm a ways away from the end of my grieving journey. In fact, I don't think I'll have any resolution until I'm reunited with my children. Even if I'm very old and we've missed our whole entire lives together, I feel like I won't have any resolution until we're reunited freely with no interference from anybody else, no matter who they are, and meet on a pure spiritual level. And maybe that'll happen on the other side, in the spiritual realm. I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm just going with the process as it unfolds each day. So I believe that we can find our way through our griefs and traumas by practicing conscious alignment with our true selves and our true path. By taking whatever happens, number one, putting it in the context of the journey of the hero. Where are you at on that journey? What does that mean? What archetype are you being? Teacher, healer, visionary, warrior, what? Give it some meaning in the context of your overall life journey. Allow it, embrace it, bless it, cherish it, and remember. And then, realize that you are a co-creator of your own life story, along with everything else in creation. So you have the power to craft your life to be anything you wish, using what you have. Do what you can with what you have to the best of your ability at this time. That's all you have to do. And so if you go to the grocery store and you're choosing what to eat, learn to start reading the labels and choosing food that raises your B vitamins and lots of green vegetables and things that give you good energy for your brain and your serotonin and dopamine and all of those chemicals to work in your body. When you choose anything, try to choose the thing that is in alignment with who you really are or who you want to be, and then start acting out that role like you're in a movie called The Journey of the Hero, and the hero is you. And it's a long journey, like that TV show Kung Fu with Kane, played by David Carradine, I believe. His journey went on for many, many, many years, and every single episode was a movie all by itself. It was really, really good, cool show. It can help you understand your life as a journey of a hero, So I'm sure there's things I forgot to say, and I'll just touch on those things in the next video, because we can find our way through this grief by practicing conscious alignment with our true selves, little by little, gradually. Each time we can make a choice and do things to start feeling better, allowing ourselves to be happy when we go on a hike, allowing ourselves to be happy when we go to a gig, allow ourselves to enjoy being alive, just to make a little bit of room for new blessings. It's a gradual process of choosing to be in alignment and to have conscious awareness of what you're really going through and where you want to be. I honor this phase of my life. I honor my grieving journey. It's sacred to me and powerful, because my love for my children was sacred and powerful. And I forgive myself completely for any mistakes I made, or less than stellar choices or shortcomings. I was doing the best I could with what I had from where I was at that time. And it was not ideal. But it could have been a whole lot worse if I had not made the best choices I could based on what I had to work with. And that's how it works. And you forgive yourself so completely that it's okay to love yourself, to hug yourself. Just give yourself a really good hug. If it feels strange, then maybe you really do need to do it. Especially if you don't like to hug other people, you should start by learning how to hug yourself. This feels really comfortable to me, and it looks like a heart. And it feels really good, and I can massage my back too that way. Start hugging yourself like you would a child. Like, how you doing? Cute little girl. Oh, so sweet. Here. You're so beautiful. I love you. And try to start loving yourself, you know, even in your grief. In fact, when you're grieving, you need hugs more. You need nurturing more. When other people are grieving, everybody wants to nurture them and give them attention and feed them and stuff. Well, you're grieving. And if nobody else is doing that for you, then we should do it for ourselves. You know? So let's start thinking about ways to do that. Consciously, selfishly, radically, passionately. And see what happens. I see lots of little spirits. Well, peace be with you. May you be blessed. Namaste.